Hello everyone, today we had Silk release into Series 5 in Marvel Snap, and Silk is a 2-cost, 5-power card that has the ability after any card is played here, this moves to another location. And so 2 cost for 5 power is phenomenal. We go out of our way to enable things like Lizard because it is the best power to cost ratio for that slot, and now we have one that ranges and roves around the board. I think that Silk has several good shells or good utility. So something that uses a light movement touch, so it uses the Kraven like we're showcasing today. Then I also think it's going to be fantastic in like a Moon Zoo shell, something that runs a Quinjet, a Moon Girl, and then you can double down on all of those cards. So you're doubling down on She-Hulk, on your demons, on your Silk, and you just have some phenomenal value in the process. And using it on the last turn, you don't have to worry about where Silk is going to bounce to, because most of the time in a Moon Zoo, you're going to fill up just about the entire board, or you could play it as the last card in that location. But for today's build, it is very close to the control shell that I featured a few days ago. That shell is just so strong into what we're currently seeing in the game and in the meta state that augmenting it just a little bit for Silk and Kraven made a lot of sense, honestly. So we lowered the curve quite a bit. We cut Gamora, we cut Professor X, and then we put in some lower cost cards. So almost every single game, even if we don't get our Kitty Pryde, we have ways to stay in the game, have power coming down onto the board, and enabling our big cards, our big plays later down the line. And so with Silk, I think a lot of people are going to run into the trap of accidentally capping out one of their locations before they're ready to, and they have no way to continue to enable that card after that point. And so to avoid that, we have things in this deck built in like Kitty Pryde. We have Nightcrawler, we have Jeff, so that we can have a movable unit in that location. So if Silk bounces into a capped out lane, next turn either Kitty Pryde comes back into our hand, we move the Nightcrawler, we move the Jeff into a different location, giving ourselves that space to continue to play and continue bouncing Silk around the board just like a ping pong ball. I did have a 71.4% win rate, but of course it is a really low sample size. So don't take that as this card is absurdly broken. I think it is really valuable. I think it's really good. It helps enable a Kraven, but so does your Nightcrawler, so does your Jeff, so does your Polaris, and it really allows you to have multiple ways that you're contributing power onto your board. And so I played about 20 games with this deck, had about a 71.4% win rate, and I averaged a net cube gain of 1.43 cubes per game because I was able to burst a lot of power outside of what the opponent was anticipating on the last turn of the game. I was able to lock them out of locations with Spider-Man and then still maneuver power into those lanes that are a little bit tougher to reach. Overall, I have loved this card. I've loved this list, but when you compare it to something like High Evolutionary that has the same cost, this one will eventually downgrade. This is the new card. It has all the bells and whistles, but is it worth the same as High Evolutionary? I don't think so. I think High Evolutionary is a higher priority. He just impacts the game so heavily that he is like the benchmark. And so this one's going to be fun if you like a little light movement. If you like Moon Zoo kind of double down style decks, I think Silk is going to be fantastic. But I also think it's probably more fantastic at like 3,000 rather than 6,000. If you have the extra tokens to spend, this is phenomenal. I've loved the card. I'm going to continue to use it. I'm going to use it on Conquest mode whenever that does release. And I think it gives that little bit of surprise factor, that little bit of RNG, to help you reach hard to reach locations as well. And so we're going to go ahead and jump over into a couple of games. Thank you guys as always for being here. I hope that you guys enjoy. Let's go ahead and jump on in. All right. Next up we have Freezing Cold, and we have played a total of 6 games now. And I have not seen Silk once. Like, we're winning the games just because the deck itself with like Kitty Pryde and Angela and the Spider-Man lock is so strong already. Like, we're winning games. We just have not seen Silk, and which is insane for it being for us having Chavez. I've seen Kitty Pryde almost every game. Not a single glimpse of Silk. And then we did have no Roma, so we should, statistically, we should see Silk. I'm starting to think she doesn't exist. It's been so many games. Limbo is going to give us an extra chance to see her as well. And that's still nothing. Oh my gosh. We have a 1 out of 4 chance next turn to draw it, a 1 out of 3 on the following turn. It's unfortunate. Incredibly unfortunate. Let's go with the Kraven. I do have the Nightcrawler into the Nexus location because I do want to move it out. Eventually we'll do like a Polaris to move a card over. That will enable a cheaper like Miles Morales and it helps clog up their Nexus location as well. Can we see? Oh, it doesn't exist, you guys. We have a 1 out of 3 shot of drawing it next turn. Oh no, a 1 out of 4 because of the rock. Courtesy of the Korg, unfortunately. Okay, let's go with players. We'll pull a Korg or a Jeff. It doesn't really matter which one. It's going to buff up our Kraven, which is fantastic. They will be able to move the Jeff out, which is the only downside. But otherwise, I think we're perfectly fine. Now the rock slide comes in. We're never going to see Silk, are we? It exists. I didn't believe it was real. Didn't think it was real. All right, I want to keep the Nightcrawler in the Nexus location for the sole reason I want to be able to have an extra space. So if Silk goes here, great, it buffs up our Kraven, but I want to have that spot open to be able to play an additional card and move it out afterwards. And so we're going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and play our Miles Morales into Nova Roma. We do have our Kitty Pryde. Fantastic. Fantastic pull for us. Devil Dino there is big. We do have the Enchantress, so we're going to be able to come over the top of them. Silk swings over into the Nexus, buffing up our Kraven, and we will have the Nightcrawler, which is what we wanted. Be able to move the Silk back out, and then we can navigate from there. Now, we are going to be able to do both Spider-Man and Kitty Pryde here. So I'm going to move the Nightcrawler out. Let's play our Kitty Pryde first. That way, I'm not going to accidentally send Silk back into the Nexus location. I want that space open. I need that space open. Now, if they have a way to change Limbo, is the only reason I'm not going to snap into this, because I don't know if they have a way to steal that Limbo location away. And I don't want that to be an 8-cube game instead of just a 2, if that is the case. So we have Silk swinging her way into Nova Roma. So far, so good. We have the 3, the 2, and then this should be a 1-cost card. Yep. Oh, no. Yeah, it's the 1-cost card, Agent 13, which is fantastic. We're going to lock them. Oh, they played the Mystique, which bounced our Silk away. We played Kitty Pryde, it bounced it back. We played Spider-Man, and it bounced it away again. So our Kraven is now 8 power just from the flexibility of Silk bouncing around the board. And so let's go ahead and do the Enchantress to take out the Mystique. We now have the Kitty Pryde and the Jeff himself. We're going to bounce Silk back and forth a little bit. It doesn't matter where she goes. This lane is going to be a resounding success after taking out these Devil Dinos. I'm not gonna snap into it just because we just everything has worked out fantastically so far. The first time we see Silk, and we're just continuing to like hit that Kraven turn after turn, which Kitty Pryde does help us enable quite a bit by being able to play a card, have it pull back in to keep space open, even though Silk is bouncing around the board. And so we're gonna swing it back and forth, and we will get the 11 power lead in the Nexus, so we were able to hold down all 3 locations, courtesy of Mr. Spider-Man, the Menace himself. 5 cost is not going to stop him. That's typically the turn I would have used it anyways. It just prohibits us from doing 1 additional bounce with something like Kitty Pryde. We will take the 2 cubes. Silk made a fantastic entrance into the video. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Ryason. And the first location is Dream Dimension, which is not ideal. But what is ideal is we have our Kraven, we have our Kitty Pryde, we have our Silk, all in our starting hand. And so we're going to be able to do Kitty Pryde this turn. Actually, I want to say I'm going to go ahead and just do Kraven. No, that's so Kraven. We're going to go ahead and do Kraven. Next turn, we can do Kitty Pryde plus Silk. I really want, I think statistically, it's going to be better to just continue enabling our Kitty Pryde. I think stat-wise, that is what would work best. But I like the idea of getting Kraven down early. Then we can start bouncing our Silk in the direction we want to bounce it into. So then we get Angela. So I lied. We were going to do Silk, but this is better. We can't turn this one down. I'm okay if Nebula scales a little bit. We do have Polaris to pull it eventually. Plus, with Silk bouncing there, we're going to play quite a few cards there over the course of the game. I do want the Angela in a lane that is not within the Nebula location. So let's go ahead and snap into this. We have the Angela, we have the Kitty Pryde, we have our Kraven, which does look like a movement deck. But really, the only thing Silk is going to be doing for you, other than just having a good cost to value ratio, is in a movement deck is enabling your Miles and helping buff up a Kraven. So we cut Dagger, we cut all of the other movement components because we just don't need them. And so they're running a high evolutionary deck of some sort. It has the Cyclops. Let's go ahead and now do our Silk. Do Kitty Pride. I almost want to do Nightcrawler into nowhere just in case it bounces here. Let's go ahead and do it. We're gonna try to bounce it over into the Kraven lane, but I don't know that we're gonna be able to hit it or not. And so we're gonna do the padding of the Nightcrawler, and we'll be able to move that one into the Kraven lane as well to buff it up even further. And so, ooh, they stormed the Quantum Realm location. Interesting. And so Silk will be able to continue to bounce around the board and eventually end up in that location. So I think we're fine with that. And so we only get one more time. Silk does swing over into the Kraven lane, which is fantastic. We will take the 2 cubes. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Yo Woody MJTTB. Almost added an extra T. The first location is the Forge. We're gonna steer clear of that one. We do have our Kitty Pride. We have our Angela. I have to believe that Chavez makes a huge difference in making sure we have these when we need them, which is why I keep Chavez in the cut. We don't have Kraven. We don't have Silk. It's perfectly fine. Let's go ahead and do Kitty Pride. Since we do have Angela, I'm going to hold the Nightcrawler for now. That way we can use it as a way to just like exceedingly buff up the Angela. Now they do have it, and okay, we lose our Polaris. They lose their Ghost. Interesting. So this is going to be a double Angela lane. We have Nightcrawler still. We have Miles Morales to lean in on. They do have Silk. I'm curious what they're going with. I'm wondering if they're going with something similar to what we did. The Ghost is kind of strange. It's a very strange choice that they had. They did draw their Silk, so they got more fortunate than we did here. Now, their Silk does enable us to have a very cheap Miles Morales. I think knowing that they're going to continue to move that card over and over and over again, we're going to play it a little bit slow. We have our Spider-Man. Silk will make it a little bit difficult to make sure that that is locked down, because we'll have to make sure we kind of pad the extra 5 that could potentially go into that lane. So playing against Silk is not something that I've thought about. It does look like they're running a very similar shell to what we are. So the Angela, the Nightcrawler, the Jeff, and the Silk, it's very similar to the control build that I had, or that I showcased recently. They didn't move anything. I do have to believe that they're going to move something this turn. In case they don't, do we Nightcrawler here? Yeah, let's go ahead and Nightcrawler. Wow, they do a. Oh, do they do a Spider-Man? No, they do a Blue Marvel. Okay, that's interesting. That is not what I was thinking. But the Blue Marvel plus the Nightcrawler move does make it a little bit more difficult to determine where Silk is going to eventually or ultimately go. We don't have initiative here, so the Shang-Chi is going to be a guaranteed hit here. I think we can just do this as well. Now the Silk is a little bit scary. Depending on what else they play here, maybe we need to split it. I don't know. It depends on where Silk goes, honestly. I'm going to stack them. I'm going to go with my gut. I did think about moving it back over into the Sokovia lane, but I'm going to go with my gut here. The Moon Girl, maybe we shouldn't have went with our gut. Okay, the Titania is fine because we only played one card. It's going to bounce to our side. Perfect. We take out their big Angela. We elevate ours further. We get a Titania in the process. No matter where Silk goes, it is fine. We're going to have enough of a gap that we will be able to hold down the 2 cubes against the Silk player. I wish we would have had a Silk versus Silk game. That would have been fantastic. I am curious what else was in their deck. Like if there was a Kraven or anything that really benefits from Silk. Otherwise, it's just a roving 2/5, which is just good value. But you don't get anything else out of it other than like the anxiety of not knowing where the card is going to land. Let's take the 2 cubes. We'll jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Da Puma. First location is Titan. We don't get any of our early game cards. So this becomes pretty scary pretty quickly. It is a high evolutionary, probably like a Soak Affliction style deck. We do get Silk here. All right. We don't have Kraven though. So Silk swings right here, and then that's it. That's all she wrote for Silk, which is a little bit scary. Now, they're not going to be able to lock down this lane. They're not going to be able to do like an evolved Hulk. It will just be the 12 power resource. We get a little bit of benefit there. I'm going to pull the Sunspot over just in case Westview turns into something just really Ooh, okay, maybe we're not going to pull the Sunspot. We're going to pull the Jeffrey instead. We do have Spider-Man to lock in one location. Ooh, it turns into the Nexus. That is not bad at all. How do we want to play this one? I'm scared of playing Silk because she'll probably bounce into deep space as soon as available. They snapped, but we do have the Spider-Man, so we get at least that little bit of solace. That we have the Spider-Man to lock them out. They're not going to be able to do anything big. Maybe they do something like a Dr. Doom, which would be kind of unfortunate, but that's all right. Let's go with the Spider-Man lock. I am going to... Actually, we don't need to move the Nightcrawler because Silk is going to move for us, enabling us to have the cheap Miles Morales next turn. We can decide if we want to move Nightcrawler or what it looks like. So Silk, where's Silk going to swing into? Silk swings into Titan. Okay. And they go with a lock. They go with the Spider-Man lock as well. We could gamble. We could gamble on the Silk going into the Nexus. But I don't think we're going to. I think we're going to leave the Nightcrawler there. I'd rather have that 2 power there than not have the 2 power there, especially if they go with something like a Dr. Doom. I think we'll need it. But if they go with something like a Dr. Doom, I also think we'll need some guaranteed power over here. All right. Let's go ahead and play our Chavez into Titan. We'll play the Miles here. If they go Dr. Doom, they're going to do Dr. Doom here. And so that would put them above. All right, oddly enough, we're going to stack. I've changed my mind enough times. Oddly enough, we're going to stack here. That way, when Silk ultimately swings into deep space, it's fine. But we cover a Dr. Doom play. Ooh, okay. The Silk moving there, we can win the deep space location, hopefully. The Hulk comes down, the Wasp come down. That's fine. We moved our Jeff over, and so we're going to win the Nexus, and as a result, we also win the deep space. We had Silk there, but so curious why they stayed there. I mean, we'll take it. We'll take the double Spider-Man lock, which is so important against how much control we've seen, how much Galactus we've seen. It is so important to have some kind of control or counter to that very common play now. We will take the 4 cubes. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Z Inspires. First location is Morag, and so we'll actually be able to either move cards over, we can move a Silk over, but it does become difficult to get Silk out of Morag, especially as the game continues to progress. We draw our Kitty Pryde, which we didn't have originally. I was going to play Kraven this turn, but I think we can wait. There's no harm in waiting one additional turn. Nightcrawler will eventually move into the Kraven lane, especially if we don't draw anything else to support it. Let's go with Kitty Pryde, Kraven. We'll call that good. That way we can play our Jeff wherever. We can move it over there. Morag is going to be that location that's a little bit harder to compete for most decks and most people. And so I would much rather have our card over there if we can help it. And so let's go Angela, Kitty Pryde. I almost want to move our Nightcrawler this turn. Yeah, let's do it. If we draw into our Spider-Man, that's unfortunate, but otherwise perfectly fine. Their Cyclops, I assume, does negatively afflict our Kitty Pryde, but we do have the Angela that's just going to continue to scale as we play additional cards there. And then they could play something like the Evolved Hulk if they end up getting Wasp. Wasp plus the Evolved Hulk, like Wasp over here and then Evolved Hulk over here, could be pretty big. All right, we're going to go all in on the Necrotia lane, and then we'll maneuver around for the last turn. They did a Ghost Spider, so I don't know what kind of hybrid high evolutionary deck they're running, but I'm curious, very curious. Okay, so they go. There they go. Okay, Abomination. So there was only what? One, no Afflict cards whenever that came down. So that was all 5. So this has to be Wasp over here. So they won't really be able to reach over into Morag, I don't think, with anything else. We move our Jeff over. That is only 1 extra, but it becomes 2 extra here. I really need to be able to fight for all locations. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do Kitty Pryde. We're going to avoid this lane for now, just because we already have a pretty significant lead here. We're going to do the Kitty Pryde here. If this is Wasp, we'll still win the lane if they don't play anything else additional there. Oof. Okay. Oh my gosh, the Jeff was bigger than what I thought because of Necrotia. We didn't have to waste the Polaris. We could have played it a little bit better. Put a little bit more power in one of the other 2 locations. Luckily, we still hold that one down. I completely forgot that once Jeff moved out of Necrotia, it was going to get +2 back. We will take the 2 cubes. Silk still didn't make an appearance, but that one is a Kraven showcase. Because everything else in the deck is building around having that flexibility for Silk, Kraven can still get pretty decent value, even outside of having Silk bounce around the board. So we will take the 2 cubes. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Bob Farm. The first location is Expansion. We have our Silk, and we don't have anything else to enable it. We have our Nightcrawler to play, but we don't have anything that's going to buff up from it. We don't have like our Angela or our Kitty Pryde, which are kind of our 2, or our Kraven, which are our 3 like really big power generating cards. Let's go ahead and play our Silk, I guess, into Expansion for now. Then we'll play it by ear depending on what else we draw into. They did play their Jeff. We could always Polaris pull that into a location if we end up needing to. We do get our Kraven, which is beautiful for us. I think we feel like we should forego bouncing Silk this turn so that we can get... Oh, actually, no, it doesn't matter, does it? It doesn't matter if Kraven was already revealed or not. So let's go ahead and do that. Silk may bounce over into Morag. It does become a little bit more difficult to reach if it gets over there, but I think it's okay. Silk does swing over into Morag, and that should retroactively buff up our Kraven. No, it doesn't. Okay. I don't know move as well as I thought I did. Silk just did a full tour of the board. Ever Miles. Ooh, 8. Be pretty fun. We have Miles. That's going to bounce Silk somewhere. We have Polaris that's going to pull a card over here, which will buff up our Kraven. Silk could potentially buff it. We have the Nightcrawler. Next turn, we have Spider-Man to lean in on. And so we should be, I think, in a pretty good spot here. And so Silk does swing into the Kraven lane. We're going to move a card over. We're going to push Silk out. If it pushes into X-Mansion, there's a chance that they send it right back our way. The debris is kind of unfortunate, but... Oh no, they zeroed out the debris. I wonder if that was intentional or not. I mean, we'll take it. We will absolutely take it. I'm going to leave Nightcrawler here, just in case Silk goes here. I want to have that padding. I want to know that I have the ability, no matter what lane it lands in, to still play a card and maneuver it further. We are going to play the Spider-Man into Monster Island. Even when Silk moves out, we should be able to win this one. We have the Shang-Chi to swing it back in our favor. And if it doesn't look like we need to, we have the America Chavez to lean in on as well. If they cap out their expansion location, they won't be able to play next turn, which is perfectly fine with us. I didn't think I would enjoy Silk as much as I do. Now, I think people are going to put her in a full movement build, and I think that is a trap. I don't think that is where she's going to shine. I think in like a Moon Girl, like a double down Moon Girl deck would be pretty good. I also think in just a light movement Kraven shell, it's also going to have some phenomenal value there as well. So they won't be able to play. We're going to play our Chavez. We can move the Nightcrawler if we wanted to, but we don't have to. We have a sizable lead. In the other locations, we will hold down and take the 1 cube. Let's go ahead and jump over into one more. All right, next up we have Advocate. My eyes start going kind of blurry from there. The first location is Xandar. We're going to go ahead and throw our Kitty Pryde on the board. We don't have Kraven. We don't have our move components. We don't have Angela yet. But Not all is lost. Oh no. Silk's greatest enemy. Bisque Tower. I did not think about that interaction until just now. With her zipping all around the board, that becomes a very big liability very, very quickly. All right, what we have to do is try to cap this location out before bouncing Silk anywhere. So we're going to want to probably save Silk for that last turn, just 5 power resource, rather than have it. Rather than just having it on the board. Now, we're going to pull their Polaris, so we're going to pull their Daredevil over. They're not going to get a read on the next turn. I don't want them to know where our Spider-Man's going to come down. Now, I assume they play in Sakaar to make sure that our Silk dies. Oh, interesting. They retreated. They had this 5 power resource that was just going to get destroyed. Now I wish I wouldn't have snapped. All right, we will take the 1 cube where we can. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Squires. The first location is Washington, D.C. We do have both our Kraven and our Angela. We have Nightcrawler. Normally, I would hold the Nightcrawler to flood into the Angela lane to continue to buffer up a little bit further. But since we have the Kraven, I think I'm going to prioritize that over the Angela just a touch. Now, interestingly enough, we'd be able to ricochet a Silk if it came down to it. Back and forth from these 2 locations because it won't be able to be added into the miniaturized lab. We'll see if we can make it happen. Now we could play the Kitty Pryde this turn, but since I did opt to do the Nightcrawler, I'm not going to spend the turn doing just 1 energy. Next turn we'll be able to do Angela plus Kitty Pryde and then go from there. Now they have the hood. This looks like probably about like a full-on bounce deck. They're going to have the at least 1, maybe 2 demons in Washington, D.C., which becomes kind of scary kind of quickly. I'm going to go ahead and do the Angela, the Kitty Pryde. We're going to move the Nightcrawler over. We probably end up with a rock here. That's okay. If we do end up with the rock, that's perfectly fine. They did snap on us, though. Ooh, they didn't play for the location. Okay, so they're going to be stuck with the rock. They can, I guess they can pull it in with Falcon. They get their Angela, they get their Kitty Pryde. If that's what they snapped for, my friend, we have a Kitty Pryde as well. They could have Beast, which is going to make their things cheaper, but fine. The cool thing about Washington, D.C., and if they play and when they play their demons there, we get a lot of value in just having the Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi is going to be a hard counter because it will go 6 to 9 very quickly. They play 2 cards here. I wonder if they go ahead and play one of their demons. No, Kitty Pryde and then Beast. They're going to bounce it back in. Okay. Makes perfect sense. So now their Kitty Pryde is free. Their Angela is cheap. We don't have Spider-Man. We still never drew Silk. Polaris could have been a small amount of value to us to pull a card over and then buff up our Kraven a little bit in the process, but it's okay. Maybe they're trying to decide how much to flood this turn versus next turn. Because maybe they think we might have a wave. So if so, then maybe they curve their cards out a little bit earlier than they do. They do. I do think they were threatened by wave. Either that or they have Falcon to pull their 1 costs back in. But I do think they were threatened by wave. Or they thought it was the end of the game. I don't know. I have no idea. All right, we're going to go for an all-out fight in this right lane. This is the real Mysterio, so we need the padding of 4 here. They have already played their Hitmonkey. Now, what they could have been doing is saving space for like a Killmonger. If this is more of a, like, I have a counter-heavy deck, and we thought it was just a pure bounce deck, maybe they took us for a ride, because we did have initiative after that last turn. They go with the Bishop, they go with their own Kitty Pryde. Their own Kitty Pryde is not big enough, even though this is going to be the real Mysterio here. It makes sense because then this one can retain that 3 power bonus. We are able to hold down the 4 cubes. Silk is still nowhere to be seen. When she's here, it's fantastic. If not, we have a lot of really cool ways to enable the Kraven and get him into the game. A 2-cost 6 power is still phenomenal. I'm personally going crazy over a 2-cost 5 power and throwing this into a shell that we already had a lot of those movement components. We have the 2/6 relatively easily, and we can still sneak in a little bit of a lockdown component when we need to. We will go ahead and take the 4 cubes. That is where we're going to go ahead and end the video. I know that we came for a Silk showcase, but I want to showcase decks that do good with both the card that is featured and outside of drawing that card, so that if you don't draw it, it's not a complete dead draw. And so I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to give it a like and a comment down below. And as always, this has been TLSG. Later, guys.